My Child Isn't Talking, Part 2. A Journey into the Early Life of a Child with Down Syndrome and His Family. Diane Fridley. In Part 1 of My Child Isn't Talking, you met Justin and his family. You got to know a little about his environment, his background, and his community. In this section of his story, you'll learn about his early prenatal development, and the months that would be considered infancy development regarding language and literacy. Justin's prenatal development. Children learn a great deal before they are born, hearing mother and father's voice, as well as experiencing the biochemical input of whatever mother eats, drinks, or smokes. Justin, having Down syndrome, perhaps needed even more careful planning for critical brain development and medical conditions that could have been life-threatening. During the prenatal stage, Justin's mother, in her mid-20s, was very careful to eat healthy foods and avoid alcohol and smoke and take supplements as prescribed by her doctor. As the pregnancy advanced, her doctor noted that Justin was a bit smaller during the normal measurements at regularly scheduled prenatal visits. Welcome to the world, Justin. After Justin's 3-week early arrival, the typical facial features of a child with Down syndrome were noted, and the family became educated and prepared for the medical, social, emotional, and physical needs to provide every possible success. With a strong support system, Justin had a great chance from the beginning for a successful life. Justin has a very supportive family. With such a strong support system, Justin had a great chance from the beginning for a successful life. Mom and Dad are both well educated, and Grandma is a retired teacher. Grandma was especially motivated to make a special effort to provide educational experiences, having the background of a classroom teaching while Justin was in her care. She took great care to begin as early as possible to create learning opportunities as often as possible, providing enrichment very early in infancy for Justin and assisting Justin's parents in learning more about Down syndrome. These enrichment activities included reading to Justin multiple times daily, interactive learning games on electronic devices, the smartphone and the iPad, educational music, and children's shows. Also included enrichment activities such as visiting a museum, providing tactile stimulation, visiting the zoo, and the library for reading events. Language and literacy. Justin was surrounded by enrichment, support, and loving care. His mobility was fairly normal, even learning to use the bathroom by kindergarten, which was fairly good for his population. He was able to sit, crawl, and walk not long after milestone markers for typically developing children. Justin's support system and early enrichment could have played an important role in his fairly normal motor and cognitive response development. Justin was late sitting up at about 9 months instead of 6 months and wasn't making many babbling noises, but he did cry when he was hungry and responded to his name and to Mom and Dad's voice. Working with professionals. Because Justin's parents already were working closely with the doctor, They knew his speech and motor skills would be delayed. At 12 months, Justin was able to reach for Mom and Dad, to communicate his attachment and need. At around 18 months, he began to pull himself up and stand. He was beginning to reach for toys and snacks. His communication was gestures, eye contact, and crying if he was hungry. Justin didn't say mama until he was 22 months instead of the normal 12 months. And it was said to be a big celebration on this day. Dad shortly followed, since Dad ramped up the effort on educating Justin to say this word. Now that Justin had said 2 words, Grandma renewed efforts to assist Justin while in her care, and she used her education background to read simple books to Justin. This was about the time they noticed Justin's fascination with print, not just books, but anything with written words. Maybe if they were able to look into an imaging device, they would have been able to see a great deal of brain activity. Even though Justin still wasn't speaking the 1,000 plus words of most children of 2 years with educated parents of his economic background. Justin's joy. The most engaging thing about Justin is his joy in discovery. While he did not speak, his engagement with the world and his effort to make sense of everything was very evident. His facial expressions were often filled with joy or extreme sadness. However, it took family members and caregivers a few tries on what exactly caused his emotions, which often ended up with all communication partners a great deal of frustration. Justin could clearly understand many words, and his receptive communication and vocabulary far exceeded his expressive abilities. His parents and grandparents continued to work with medical professionals and specialists toward improved language skills and adaptive communication skills. Look for part 3 in Justin's story as he and his family learn more skills to interact with each other and the world.